to Go's Reviews. You suggested I review it, and welcome back to the Friday the 13th franchise review remastered. Today we are continuing the series by taking a look at Friday the 13th Part 2 from 1981.
On a June night in 1980, Friday the 13th, 12 of her friends were murdered. Why should Friday the 13th, 1981 be any different? Friday the 13th, Part 2. The body count continues. 14.
Doomed. You're all doomed.
15. 16. 17. 18. 19. 20. 21. 22. 23.
Sandra? Jim?
The day you count on for terror is not over. Friday the 13th, Part 2.
So Friday the 13th Part 2 was released in 1981, and originally the idea was to be this would be an anthology film series that would tell a new story every film that took place on Friday the 13th. Sean S. Cunningham liked this idea, but unfortunately that didn't go over so well with some people in the production. So he quit. So when Part 2 actually begins production with the idea of Jason becoming the main villain, Sean S. Cunningham hated that idea and dropped out of the project. I've actually heard a lot of people don't like the idea of Jason, that reveal that Jason may not have drowned at all, and that he was alive and hiding in the woods. Well, I have to ask, if that's the case, why didn't he just, if he had drowned, why didn't he just, I don't know, came back from the woods when his mother was killing people? It doesn't matter. Anyway, the plot of Friday the 13th Part 2 is that it takes place a month after the first Friday the 13th, and Alice is staying in her house, in an old house that she lives in on her own, trying to face her fears of that night where 8 of her friends were murdered, and the night she killed Pamela Voorhees. Unfortunately, that doesn't end up working, as she's killed by a mysterious killer who's snuck into her house. Now, obviously, that mysterious killer is Jason Voorhees, but what I want to know is, how did Jason know where Alice lived? And they do establish she's still in Crystal Lake, and that she got a call from her mother in California. Then the movie jumps ahead to 5 years later, and we see a new camp is being opened across from the abandoned Camp Crystal Lake, where a new group of teens are being trained to be counselors, with the 2 head counselors, Paul and his girlfriend Jenny. With our stack of bodies, with our group of victims, a stack of bodies to be made, Jason is free to roam around doing his murder thing. Friday the 13th Part 2 is more or less just the same movie. You have a bunch of teens in the woods, in a camp, doing what they're not supposed to, drinking, doing drugs, having sex, and getting slaughtered. But what makes this film different is that it's the first movie to have Jason as the killer. And for now, he's the killer, and he's permanently the killer for the rest of the series. Now, of course, this is not the movie where Jason is the Jason we all know. In this film, he wears a flannel shirt, a a pair of overalls, and a bag on his head with one eye hole. So he's still not fully the Jason everybody's come to know. But he still is the same. He has the strength, he's stealthy, he's silent. And for all those people who say Jason doesn't run, he's shown running a few times in this movie. And also they do a pretty good job of not showing him right away. Usually they'll just show like his boots, or they'll show his POV, but they don't show his whole body until like halfway near the end of the movie. Which is actually a pretty good tactic of keeping him a mystery until we do finally see it. Unfortunately, some of the bad parts of this film do rear its ugly head. The acting isn't perfect, some of the kills are pretty standard, and we get that whole conspiracy of what if Jason didn't drown in the first place. And again, I really don't like that idea that Jason didn't really drown. If he hadn't drowned, first of all, that means a bunch of innocent teenagers died for nothing. Pamela was killing for absolutely no reason. So, maybe let's have the mystery that maybe Jason drowned and he somehow survived mysteriously. Let's give a mystery of whether or not did Jason survive or not. The point is that wrapping up, which that's really all I can do, wrapping up this film, everybody left at the camp gets killed. When Ginny and Paul come back, they are attacked by Jason. They run to Jason's abandoned old cabin where Jenny disguises herself as Mrs. Voorhees to trick Jason. And by the way, this is the last time we actually see Betsy Palmer in the series as Pamela Voorhees. Anyway, which of course at first doesn't work. Then Jason and Paul have a bit of fight, which results in Ginny slashing Jason in the shoulder with a machete. And then they run back to their cabin, where they think everything's fine, and Jason bursts through the window, not wearing his mask. But then Ginny wakes up being wheeled on a gurney, and this is where we get probably one of the biggest debates still going on. What happened to Paul? When Ginny's being wheeled out, she asks, "Where's Paul?" And we don't know what happened to him. We don't really know what was a dream. Obviously, they hacked him in the shoulder, but what happened after that? Did Ginny get attacked by Jason? Did she fall asleep? So, what happened to Paul? Did he get killed? Is he on a different ambulance? We never know. But with that said, Friday the 13th Part 2 is still a decent sequel, even if it didn't go in the direction I honestly would have liked to see the series go. Obviously, from this point on, Sean S. Cunningham had nothing to do with the series, and from this one on, I believe the films went from different directors, and yeah, Jason at this point has started to become an iconic horror film. But we'll get to where he finally started becoming the icon we all know and fear to this day, when next time. Until then, I'm Cody the Reviewer, and